Good day. This is Jessica Schafer, and she's an expert surfer. So, in today's webinar, we're going to be talking about surfing. How are you doing, Jessica?
I'm wonderful today.
All right,
Bright
great.
sunny day out there.
Yeah, beautiful day. You've been surfing for 26 years.
Yes.
Wow. Okay, what is so good or great about surfing?
The first thing I would have to say is actually being out in the water and being surrounded by nature and the beauty of it. It's a very spiritual thing, being able to be out there.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
And it keeps you really fit.
So, what age did you start at?
I started when I was 8,
8?
actually.
And who'd you learn from?
Well, I had a group of friends. I lived right by the beach in southern Texas and by a pier. So basically, being 8, it was really hard for me to surf.
Sure.
My older sister surfed. Then, basically around the age of 11 or 12, I kind of wanted to get really good. And they actually, some of my friends had to pull me out on their leashes for me to get out in the waves. So yeah, it took a little while because I was so small, but yeah.
So did you start body surfing first, or?
I didn't. I went directly to surfing on a surfboard, a hard top, yeah.
Awesome. Okay. What would you say are the top 3 things girls should know in order to be successful in surfing, especially beginning girls at 8 years of age?
Okay. The first thing would be to have patience. It does take a long time to get good. The next thing would be to go ahead and go out with an instructor or a parent or someone who knows how to surf, just because they'll give you pointers. They'll be able to teach you what you need to do, the safety precautions and things like that. Third would be paddle. Really get strong, try to practice at home, doing pop-ups and things like that. And if you put the time into it, you'll definitely be able to learn how to surf.
Because where you learned in Corpus Christi, Texas, was you had to paddle out quite a ways.
You did. It was about a quarter of a mile to a mile, if not longer, and therefore you really need upper body strength to be able to learn how to surf.
So will your surfing style that you've learned work with anybody?
It will. Definitely. The things that I usually teach my students will definitely go a long ways. I usually guarantee that you can get up in an hour. So no matter what, even if I hold the board to my chest and you have to practice out in the water the pop-up, you'll usually get up and learn that. Yeah.
So you can become proficient within a week?
Definitely. Even in an hour, I'll be able to teach you, or the person, the student. I usually go through the safety precautions first, how to paddle, how to hold the board, and then basically how to catch a wave. And by the end of the hour or 2, you'll be paddling into your own waves. And therefore, if you don't want to come back, or you can go out with a different instructor, or come back to our surf camp, you can basically be able to paddle and catch a wave and stand up, and you'll be able to have the knowledge to be able to do that on your own.
So about what age did you feel you could start teaching surfing to others?
You know what? I actually had friends when I was growing up around 12, 13 that wanted to learn how to surf. So I'd go ahead and let them know what I knew, and yeah, and that's basically when I started instructing.
Excellent. Okay.
Yeah.
Tell us about a person, a real-life example that you taught.
Okay. Well, I did choose one. It was a repeat student of an intermediate level, and they wanted to go out in really big surf, all right? And so it was probably about 7 to 8 feet, and it was really, really clean conditions, but I just said, all right, if you really want to go out, you have to listen to me. You have to follow everything I do. You have to stay with me, and you can't get separated.
Was this in Texas?
This was in actually Nicaragua.
Nicaragua. Tell us about Nicaragua a little bit.
Oh, Nicaragua is a beautiful place to learn how to surf. Lots of good surf camps down there. Lots of instructors that are really knowledgeable. And there's one really good beach where most of the tourists go.
On the Pacific side?
On the Pacific side, and it's the hub of basically the surfing world down there. People fly into Managua, and then they go to San Juan del Sur, because that's the gateway down to Costa Rica and Panama. So depending on which way you go, you usually like to visit San Juan del Sur. Yeah, and so it's beautiful down there to be able to learn.
And how long have you surfed in Nicaragua?
Back and forth from the States to there, probably around 7 or 8 years. Yeah.
And you have a home down there?
We don't have a home, but we have property. So we go down, make sure the property is clean, and then usually live in town or on the beach.
So if there was one secret you were to give about surfing, what would it be?
All right, don't give up. Don't get frustrated. The number one thing is a lot of people just don't get it within the first week or two. And if you really want to become a surfer, it takes a good year to 2 years and the time to actually put into it. So don't give up. Don't get frustrated.
So do you start out with a long board or a small board?
Always a long board. Just because of the surface area of the board, it's easier to paddle. And it's definitely a lot more fun if you can catch more waves and stand up.
Okay. And what are some of the common problems that people experience when first starting out?
When first starting out, people can't actually catch the waves due to the timing of the waves. They move really fast. They stop paddling before the waves. So the number one thing that I tell my students is paddle, paddle, paddle. What we'll do is we'll go through the hour lesson and I'll be pushing them into waves. And about 45 minutes in, I'll say, this is your time. I'm not going to push you in anymore. You have to paddle. And so what I'll do is I'll yell, paddle, paddle, paddle. And then I'll say, stand up. And then they catch their own waves.
Excellent. All right. Some people might think that, okay, they want to try this. Is there any catch to this?
There is. There definitely is. Unfortunately, surfing is a very, very dangerous sport. So you really need to know how to handle the board and really go through safety precautions with whoever you're surfing with. Unfortunately, I've seen some very horrible accidents. So as long as you go with someone who knows what they're doing and who you feel comfortable with, there shouldn't be any accidents within the first week or two. And then you'll know the safety precautions. So
You mean accidents by getting hit by the board?
definitely just getting hit by the board or actually falling onto the sand because we're so close to the beach. Because we don't go out. I want them to be very comfortable. So we usually go to our waist. But yeah, just be patient because it's a very dangerous sport.
Okay. And you've won some championships.
I have.
Tell us about the state championship you won in Texas for surfing.
All right, that was around the age of 14. I really didn't know much about contests and things like that, and they had the TGSA, Texas Gulf Surfing Association. And a lot of my friends said, why aren't you doing contests? And I was like, all right, I'll go do them. And then basically went through a year or two of contest. And then in the last one, I got overall points for the women's division. I was surfing against older women. I tried to do the longboarding, and I got first place in that. Didn't get first place in the women's, but overall points. Just because on the last contest, it was really big where we were at in Port Isabel, and I was so small I didn't want to go out.
Oh, we mean big waves?
Big waves,
Oh,
yes.
all right.
But I didn't go out to get first, but I got overall points in that
Excellent.
season.
And are there other contests you won?
Yes, there are. Down in Nicaragua, I like to do the contest circuit. And that was basically longboarding most of the time. I did do shortboarding, and a few of the contests I won first place, but I was the first contest that I tried down there. Basically, there were 11 of us. I was the only female. So there were 10 guys against me, and
Wow.
and basically won the first day. I went back, no one showed up to surf against me, unfortunately,
Oh.
except one other gentleman, but then I got first place, so.
Excellent. And the circuit in Nicaragua, is it just Pacific Coast?
No, they actually, that's the Nicaraguan circuit. And then they have a surf team, a national team that goes and competes against Panama and Costa Rica, and I think El Salvador has a team as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things you do to stay on top as a surfer?
Try to stay fit, definitely. What you want to do is you want to practice. Go out at least once or twice a week if you can, once you get good. If you're a beginner surfer, you want to try to get upper body strength, like I said before, so you can practice what the instructor teaches you, which is the pop-up, and that's basically a push-up and then up to your feet. So just really, yeah, keep up with it.
Okay. Um, so where can people find out more information about surfing?
All right, there are lots of resources for this. The number one resource would be your local surf shops. They can give you knowledge about what type of board you need, if you're in cold water, what type of wetsuit is good for the season that you're surfing, booties as well for cold water. And they also have a lot of good books that will teach you about the beaches around the area. And as well as instruction on surfing, so you can read about that as well. And then, of course, the internet. You can find all kinds of things out about surfing on the internet.
And you live in Mendocino, California now, so it's cold water.
It is cold water, usually around 45 to 52 in the warmest
So you have to
summer
wear a
day.
wetsuit.
All year long, yeah.
And how often do you surf?
I surf, if I can surf, I surf 2 or 3 times a week.
Excellent.
Yeah.
All right, all right.
But while I'm going to school, it's one time a week, if that.
So how could people contact you? Maybe through this webinar?
The webinar, definitely. And yeah, I do have an email account at school. Should I? I mean, I think.
Well, I can give it later.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Sure.